وانتم تقولوا نحن نضرب اهدافنا بدقه، انتم يبقى امام العالم يا مجرمين وانتم نحن نضرب في اهدافنا بدقه، معناها انتم عندكم معلومات دقيقه عن الهدف، حولتوا العالم الى غابه. لكن ممكن تدور الدوائر وهالشريعه اللي انتم تشرعوا فيها تنطبق عليكم وتصبح بيوتكم انتم اهداف مشروعه لمنع اولادكم واطفالكم في يوم ما ممكن تصبح اهداف مشروعه ونرد عليكم بالمثل.
Well, throughout the course of the 4-month-long revolution against Colonel Gaddafi's regime, Libyans have found themselves surrounded by threats. NATO forces have killed hundreds of civilians during their bombardments, this according to government claims, and rebels have been accused of committing atrocities against their own people. RT's Maria Finoshina explains.
This family hasn't had a walk, quiet and peaceful like this one, for months. They've escaped from the Libyan rebel stronghold of Benghazi to hide in this refugee camp in the west of the country after life in their native town became a nightmare.
It's not safe there anymore. It's become dangerous. And it's not only because of explosions and gunshots. One day people from the government in Benghazi, you call them rebels, we call them terrorists, came to me and told me, we have to arrest your daughter because we know that she supports Gaddafi.
The escape has been long and hard for the women and their family.
I had to hide for some time from them, as they've been searching for me. Then we knew there was a bus coming from Benghazi to Tunisia, the bus with the rebels, for their purposes. We took that bus with our faces covered, and everybody was against Gaddafi on it. We told them that we were also against him, and they let us in. We kept silent until we went to Egypt, and from there, via Tunisia, we were sent here.
Salma's brother, Dr. Sabri, a surgeon, has also fled the city. He says they've made 3 attempts on his life, but he only finally left when he saw a killing.
And they take him from ICU and killing him in front of ICU and hanging his body on the wall of the Jallah hospital.
The doctor says people from the National Transitional Council were behind it. This is the rebels' official political body, set up after the revolution in Libya started in the mid-February. Its members are recognized by many countries throughout the world as the only legitimate representatives of Libya.
There is no other opinion than their opinion.
So?
You must be with them or you are against them. They talk about freedom and democracy. There is no freedom or democracy. They just want to power.
The refugees here say they now finally feel safe, but it's not that safe from this side of the front line either. These people have gathered in the west of Tripoli to bury those killed in a NATO airstrike, according to Libyan government officials. A bomb landed on a private compound and flattened it, killing 15 people, including 3 kids.
We have been calling for peace and negotiation for months, and no one wants to listen to us. And now we have to pay a very heavy price of casualties, civilian casualties, and also military casualties. I think the time has come for the world to understand that this conflict has to come to an end immediately.
Which is very unlikely to happen anytime soon. The newly dug ground in this cemetery is still fresh, while NATO has already claimed that the operation to protect civilians must go on.
With clashes continuing in Benghazi and NATO intensifying its bombardment of Tripoli, both eastern and western parts of the country are perilous to stay in, and people are dying on both sides of the front line. Many here on the ground fear that when the democracy the West talks about will finally come here, there will not be enough people left to experience it. Marie Finoshina, RT, reporting from Western.
Hello, this is Al Jazeera, and these are the stories making the headlines. At least 5 anti-government protesters have reportedly been killed by Syrian troops in the town of Al-Kiswa, south of Damascus. Rights activists say 3 other people were also killed in the capital itself. The European Union has now extended its sanctions against Syria to include 3 Iranian generals thought to be helping with the crackdown. In Yemen, there are also reports of soldiers opening fire on crowds in the south of the country. Opponents of President Ali Abdullah Saleh have been holding a sit-in the capital and 16 other cities. They've been calling it a Friday of revolutionary will. A Red Cross ship carrying residents fleeing from Libya's capital has arrived in the rebel stronghold of Benghazi. More than 300 people were on board, most of them civilians, but there were also some detainees who'd been released by the Gaddafi government. The EU has begun reforms that would allow member states to close their borders in, quote, exceptional circumstances. Changes to the Schengen Treaty were requested by France and Italy, who've seen an influx of refugees ever since the North African revolutions began.
Hello everyone, welcome to Global Government News. Today is Friday, June 24th, 2011. I'm Darko. This is part 2 of this news bulletin for today. My website is www.ggnonline.com. That's ggnonline.com. I just posted a new poll up here. You can check it out. Do you believe the real purpose of tapping the country's oil reserves was to bolster support for the Fuhrer, Barry Soetoro? So far, 100%. 3 voters say yes. Go in there and check that out. Follow me on Facebook at the bottom all the way here. Wait till I get to it here. And Network Blogs. Just hit that little button there and you can follow me there. And or visit my YouTube channel, ddarko2012. So I'm going to start off with Libya. Clinton urges Dems to support Libya war. The U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton has urged Democrats in Congress to support the continuation of American military involvement, i.e. killing civilians in the war on Libya. Then we move to this. House rebukes Obama, but won't halt funds for Libya. Says challenging presidential power, a defiant U.S. House voted overwhelmingly Friday to deny Barry Soetoro authority to wage war against Libya. But Republicans fell short in an effort to actually cut off funds for the operation in a constitutional showdown, reflecting both political differences. Like, there is a difference, right? Bunch of crap. Gaddafi vows to retaliate against NATO. You saw some of those comments that were in the beginning of the video. And I'm going to keep moving here, but I'll just cover this article briefly. Libya media blackouts, lies, and videotape. And then when you go down here, talking about the limited kinetic action in Libya, it has been one of the most misrepresented, selectively covered, and tragic imperialistic NATO adventures in recent history. We're presented a picture of a madman frothing at the mouth, slaughtering civilians whenever possible, and even raping women. We are shown a Libya that is united against Gaddafi, with a population that wants NATO to save them and help depose the evil Gaddafi. But is this true? And he says here, in fact, there's only a very small part of a large, complex picture. However, the Western media refuses to show their audiences the entire reality, while they are, in fact, there in Libya, able to fully appreciate the events. And then it goes down here and says, so what are they not being shown by Western media? How about 1 million Libyans taken to the streets of Tripoli in support of Gaddafi? For starters, it says here, one would think that such a massive demonstration in the nation's capital would garner at least a little bit of mainstream media's attention. However, this seems to miss the headlines completely. And like that, in that one video talking about Syria and those protesters, those innocent, friendly, peaceful protesters in Syria being killed, well, there's actually an article. This story I was going to just tell you, but I figured I might as well just show you. Syrian security sees smuggled weapons. I mean, these aren't, you know, slingshots here and BB rifles. These are, you know, pretty high quality stuff right here. Shotguns and that. Says here, Syrian authorities have seized a large shipment of weapons in the coastal city of Latakia, which were thought to have been meant for armed groups in the north. And isn't it funny, like how all these rebels, all these, quote, you know, there were protesters with the, you know, that were revolting after Egypt and Libya. All of a sudden they just had arms and anti-aircraft stuff, you know, and just RPGs. I mean, where the hell does all this stuff come from? Well, there is an agenda here. There is a political agenda here, of course, to remove these leaders, to have regime changes, and of course to be put to have what? To have a Western backed and pro-West leader, or puppet, really, is what he is. And so that's what they're trying to do in Syria, and that's what they're trying to do in Libya. And of course they keep calling them you know, rebels and protesters and anti-government protesters, but these guys are actually, if you were to do this in the United States, it'd be considered terrorists, just like those Libyans that were basically exiled, said. White men impersonating lesbian bloggers want everything but the burdens. This is a very, the way they wrote this, it was just kind of like, it didn't get to the damn point, which is there was a man that actually posed as a lesbian, a female lesbian, a white man from the United States, I believe. So it just goes to show you, like the individual in Egypt who actually received a reward for doing what he did, that Google representative. And like I said, this is all staged. This is all planned. This is not organic or grassroots at all. And we have Afghans have mixed reactions on U.S. troops here. This is from Xinhua, and it says Afghans have mixed reactions about the future of their country's security, but what they're really worried about is just their own freedom. Right, so you have a puppet regime, and then you have all these other foreign governments coming in there bombing you, saying that they're trying to help you. So just like all these other countries, they just want to be left alone and be able to determine their own fate. It says here, NATO chopper crashes in Afghanistan, and we have some more crashes. Russian MiG-29 crash kills 2 pilots. Then here, nuclear expert killed in Russia plane crash helped design Iran facility. So the 5 Russian scientists were among 44 killed earlier this week. No official investigation of foul play has been opened through Iranian nuclear, or though Iranian nuclear experts, have in the past been involved in similar incidents. Then we have a helicopter makes emergency landing near Fort Calhoun. That's been up in the news recently about a possible next Fukushima. All that flooding going on, and it's a nuclear facility. Here we go, and it says U.S. official urges immediate power transfer in Yemen, and then check this out. U.S. drone attacks in Yemen ignore Al-Qaeda for local militants. Why? Because local militants are what? In America, like I said, if there's a revolution, they would be militia. They would be patriots. But they're not bombing Al-Qaeda because what? Al-Qaeda are government-backed, Western-backed mercenaries. That's what they are. They're not grassroots terrorists or grassroots militias, as they like to put it. So even I refer to it as that. 62 al-CIA or Al-Qaeda militants escape Yemen jail. So see, there you go. Everything just kind of falls into place and makes sense when you know what the hell is going on. Bigger than Blackwater arming the UAE. And then we have here the lavish exhibition occurred a full 3 months before the New York Times broke the story that former Blackwater founder Eric Prince has struck a deal worth $529 million with Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, I'm not sure if I pronounced that right, Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi, to form a mercenary army for the UAE. Small U.S. force or mercenaries to stay in Iraq after a 2011 deadline. Of course, they have one of the biggest bases in the world built there. They're not going anywhere. And that's why there'll always be problems there, because they'll have to create problems. Like I said, dropping bombs out of helicopters, Black Hawk helicopters or something, you know, just, oh, that was just a roadside bomb. Don't worry about those innocent civilians. This is collateral damage. That's the war on terror. Israeli troops attack anti-wall protesters. Israeli police firefighters drill Fury airplane crash, bombing at power station. I wonder if that's what's going to happen. Israel threatens Palestinian inmates, and then U.S. presses Egypt to release Israeli spy. Then Hezbollah, U.S. embassy in Lebanon spies for Israel. They changed that title on Yahoo, of course. You go back there a minute later, and they always change it if it's too controversial. U.S. Senate investigates claims CIA tried to smear UN. He was critical about the policies in the Middle East. And a former CIA official, Glenn Carl, said that under former President Bush, the White House ordered CIA to dig up negative information about Cole's personal life in order to discredit his views. India backs Iran's nuclear rights, so does Russia, I believe. Azerbaijan government sued over a hijab ban. And then we have this, a former Egyptian bank chief pleads guilty to sex abuse and charged in New York. Then ex-French minister charged with rape. Then we have this, hackers invade website of Brazilian presidency. Hackers attack electronic arts website. Ukraine says international operation busts 72 million hacker scan. Cyber attack hits TNT supermarket in Australia. Then Arizona Public Safety Department hacked. And then we have hackers steal entire 2011 census exclusive. Forget Spy Kids. Try Kitty Hacker Conference, telling them that, oh, it's good to be a hacker. Just make sure you be a good hacker. I'm not joking. And then U.S. forces training for electronic war. Then we have Telstra, Optus to start censoring the web next month in Australia. FBI seizes web servers, knocking sites offline, probably Patriot sites. 15 million Brits, that's 1 in 4 of us, are all listed in a national police database. This is all problem reaction solution, of course, false flag, all this hacker crap. This is GGN and I'm Darko. Thank you.